Coming up, a surprise guilty plea for the president's son.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. After several twists and turns in court today, Hunter Biden changed his plea to guilty in his federal tax trial. The surprise development came as jury selection was set to begin in Los Angeles federal court. The president's son previously pleaded not guilty to the charges that carry up to 17 years in prison. CBS's Danya Backus reports from Los Angeles.
Hunter Biden walked into a Los Angeles courthouse Thursday for jury selection in the federal tax evasion case against him, with plans to change his plea.
No one wants to go through a trial. He previously had made plea arrangements in this exact charge, and those fell through.
The president's son entered a guilty plea on all 9 counts, and the judge accepted it. Sentencing in this case is now set for December. It was last December that Hunter Biden was indicted for failing to pay at least $1.4 million in federal taxes between 2016 through 2019.
Hunter Biden's legal team reached the maybe non-controversial conclusion that there's no way he was going to win this case.
Nearly 100 potential jurors were set to be questioned Thursday about everything from their political beliefs to how they feel about addiction.
There are a number of salacious details that seem to be coming up and that have been put forward in some of the court documents, including a $10,000 sex club membership that would have to be discussed perhaps during this trial.
The 54-year-old's defense was expected to focus on his struggles with addiction, but the judge had already placed restrictions on some of that testimony. In June, a Delaware jury convicted Hunter Biden for lying about using drugs when purchasing a gun and unlawfully possessing that gun. Sentencing in that case is set for November. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
President Biden has insisted many times that he would not pardon or commute the sentence for his son. The White House press secretary reiterated today that the president is not going to take that action and is not considering it. One person is dead after an ATV crash in Floyd County. Deputies say it happened on Community Church Road in Hueysville early this morning. 53-year-old Brian Sparkman of Hueysville was killed. A second person on the ATV, Ronnie Vince Bradley, was taken to a local hospital. His condition is not known. The suspect's father in yesterday's Georgia school shooting that left 2 teachers and 2 students dead has been arrested. 54-year-old Colin Gray faces several charges, including involuntary manslaughter and second-degree murder. Classes were canceled at Appalachia High School outside Atlanta while mourners gathered to leave flowers and reflect. The 14-year-old alleged gunman has been charged as an adult with murder. CBS News has learned that police are investigating if the weapon used in the mass shooting was purchased by the suspect's father as a gift for his son last year. This deadly school shooting has many school leaders in Kentucky taking a closer look at their safety plans. In Laurel County, the school district police chief says his team is constantly having active shooter training, and each time there's a school shooting, training is reevaluated. School leaders also say they are involved in threat assessments and working with students on mental health concerns.
I think the counselor component in schools is vital. Also, there's so many mental health issues nowadays, and I'm sure when it comes down to it, we'll see that was the case in Georgia also.
Laurel County school resource officers also take part in 40 hours of annual state training. A voluntary school staff member with Clay County Public Schools is accused of holding a student at gunpoint. A criminal complaint alleges Christopher Collier drove onto Clay County High School property, asked a student to get into his vehicle, and then pulled out a gun. Collier is accused of then holding the gun to the student's head and telling him he would kill him. Collier faces several charges, including trespassing, wanton endangerment, and terroristic threatening.
Well, as advertised, we made it in the low to mid 80s today, made it to 82 in Hazard. Jackson made it to 85. 82 is where we should be for this time of year anyway. Irvin, very close to 90. made it to 89. Lexington did go into the 90s. 91, 94 was the high in Louisville. 85 in Prestonsburg, 86 was the high in Ashland. And right now, look at Lexington, 75 degrees, 72 is the current temperature in Jackson, 61 Hazard, 62 Manchester, 66 in London, 68 Somerset, 72 is the current temperature in Monticello. Live pinpoint Doppler radar. All is quiet across the area at the 11 o'clock hour. We're going to stay mainly clear, and you notice the next 12 hours keeps temperatures in the mid-60s as we go throughout the overnight hour. 63 by 8 a.m. Then look at the noon hour, 81 degrees. We will go back in the mid-80s as we go throughout the day on Friday. There is a cold front that's going to push through as we go throughout the weekend, dropping temperatures. The question is, how low will we go? I'll have the answer in the first forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thank you. Healthcare workers are working to raise awareness about behavioral health throughout the month. According to the CDC, more than half of Americans will experience a mental health condition in their life. Tonight, Baptist Health Corbin held a candlelight vigil dedicated to those impacted by things like depression, substance abuse, and suicide. They also work to connect people with mental health resources.
Most people are impacted by some form or fashion. Everybody has stress every day, and how do you deal with that stress and not letting it get to a point that you can't manage it? And those resources are there to help you manage that stress.
People who were at the vigil tonight honored their loved ones and offered support to anyone who is struggling. Diabetes is a common chronic disease in the Commonwealth. The latest numbers show more than 13% of Kentuckians have it. And in a state where insulin is vital, we are finding there are spots that just do not have it. Kristen Kennedy investigates the risks diabetics face living in insulin deserts.
I will die if I don't have. A type 1 diabetic cannot live without insulin.
Jeannie Gray was first diagnosed with diabetes when she was 7 years old. That's almost 50 years of buying, storing, and taking insulin.
It always comes in glass, so that's great. They do have expiration dates. So, if something happened and you lost refrigeration, it's not going to keep as long. High heat will destroy your insulin.
Gray has health insurance that pays a lot of her insulin cost, but she knows the hoops uninsured and underinsured have to jump through to get insulin.
For a very short period of time, my husband was between jobs and we didn't have insurance, and that was a little scary.
Gray is part of the 12% in her county with diabetes. She's in Laurel County. It's one of 10 in the state considered an insulin desert.
We do have that high prevalence of diabetes, and we do have a high rate of people that are uninsured.
Lynette Renner has worked in public health for more than 30 years. She says even though most of her clients in Laurel County do have some form of insurance to pay for insulin, they still have hoops to jump through to get it.
It could be because they don't have access to a pharmacy, or it could be because their insurance doesn't cover it, or they don't have insurance.
UK Healthcare's Dr. Christina Nosman says another challenge for her patients: changes with insulin price caps. Kentucky did cap the price of insulin for people on state-regulated health insurance plans.
Those are helpful, but once again, they're only hitting certain segments of the population. There's not really a universal option for all patients.
Renner has a plan of her own. She likes to focus on education around the chronic illness. She runs a comprehensive course for diabetics.
90% of the decisions that are made about your health, they're made at home. They're made by what we choose to eat. If we choose to exercise, if we choose to take the medication that was prescribed in the way that it was prescribed, so all of that happens at home.
How different would your life be if you were having to deal with diabetes without insurance?
Do you pay rent or do you buy your insulin? And when you're talking about your life, then you start looking at things like rationing. Not, taking as little insulin as you can get by with and live. I've not really been in the position where I had to do anything like that, but I have had to think about it.
At Gray's home, she's lucky buying insulin in an insulin desert isn't difficult for her. In Laurel County, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
The course Renner offers is managed by the Kentucky Department of Public Health. If you are interested in taking it, you can reach out to the Laurel County Health Department. AT&T has extended a final offer to the union representing its 17,000 workers currently on strike. However, the Communications Workers of America says they have put forth a counteroffer. Just 3 days ago, CWA also withdrew from mediation. It's been more than 3 weeks since AT&T workers walked off the job in several states, many of them in Kentucky. We have previously covered how it's affecting wait times for AT&T customers. The Tri-Cities in Harlan County are closer to a solution for their failing wastewater systems. Cumberland, Benham, and Lynch were talking about entering an interlocal agreement where Benham and Lynch tap into Cumberland's renovated wastewater system. But after stipulations from the state level, Cumberland decided to back out and keep its own wastewater plant. Leaders from Benham and Lynch say they will move forward together.
We've always worked with Cumberland. We've always worked with Lynch. In any way we could help them, shape, form, or fashion, we will. And that's not going to change in the future. Even if we have this joint sewer agency and Cumberland's not a part of it, if we could help them in any way, we would.
All three leaders agree the decisions each city needs to make are not personal, but just what they must do to put their citizens first. Today, Governor Andy Beshear gave an update on how communities are recovering after flooding hit eastern Kentucky more than 2 years ago. The governor says there's still a need for permanent housing in areas that are out of flood zones. Today, the governor updated the progress on 7 high-ground communities across 4 counties. The projects will create more than 500 new homes on top of the private developments already in the works.
I traveled around the region recently, and what I saw were signs of hope. Communities and families building back stronger, and just like from day one, neighbors helping neighbors to overcome the challenges that they face.
The governor also announced another $9 million in SAFE funds are going to western Kentucky communities hit by the 2021 tornadoes. The governor also highlighted projects receiving funds from Kentucky's Community Development Block Grant Program that includes $1 million for the city of Moorhead to build 40 new affordable apartment units. The Magoffin County Fiscal Court will also use more than $1 million to help extend public water service to 62 homes for the first time. One Floyd County community staple is getting new life with upgrades underway at the Martin Community Center. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has the latest.
The Floyd County Community Center is much more than a building.
You know, we not only have basketball games there, volleyball, and birthday parties, and you know, the local NA chapter, we actually accommodate them as well. But you know, in times of crisis,
county officials say the more than 50-year-old space has served the community well through fun, fellowship, and the recent flood.
The last estimates we had almost 15,000 people come through that community center and receive supplies. Not only Floyd County residents, but residents from other counties as well.
Now the county is giving back to the space that has been a headquarters for hope, using an $850,000 CDBG grant to update the exterior, refresh the basketball court and flooring, remodel the office spaces, and create a private room for the Area Narcotics Anonymous meetings.
Upwards of 250 people a week that come through there. It's turned into a regional NA program, and that's something that we're excited about.
With plans to also facilitate after-school programs for area kids, county leaders say the steps being made now are all about walking toward the future.
Yeah, our grandkids and our grandkids, you know, hopefully can use the building.
In Floyd County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Williams hopes to see the upgrades finished by January. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, need plans this weekend? We'll tell you about several festivals happening across the region.
And it's going to be a beautiful weekend to get out and enjoy those festivals. Details in a few minutes.